Hello and welcome back to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. I'm your host, Debra. As always, I'm really pleased to be here. Today, we're going to talk about metabolism. And is your metabolism broken? You can't understand why you're gaining weight. It wasn't like this when you were younger. And what can you do? And this podcast has come about because I was asked this question from a woman who's in her 50s who couldn't understand how she'd gain weight because she'd never had these issues when she was in her 20s, her 30s, her 40s. And could it be her metabolism? And I thought it was a really good question, very valid, one that you may be able to resonate with. And maybe one that you're struggling with and you can't understand why, and you're questioning, is your metabolism broken? This is what I'm going to discuss today. Now, as a very quick overview, before I get into the detail of the podcast, I do want to reassure you that your metabolism isn't broken. It's more about your lifestyle and the changes in your lifestyle as you've gone through your life. And alongside a change in your lifestyle, it's very likely that your behaviors have changed. And this is what I'm going to explain in greater detail as we go through the podcast. Now, I've split it up into kind of areas. And so this is what I'm going to be discussing in greater detail. Your metabolism, your lifestyle. I'm going to give you a quick reminder about energy balance because this is key to weight loss, weight maintenance, weight gain. I'm going to cover off behaviors. I'm going to also talk about muscle loss, and I'm going to talk about comparison, whether that be to others or yourself, and in this case, your younger self. And so hopefully by the end of this podcast, you're going to have a greater understanding, not just of why you've gained weight as you've aged, and could it be the menopause? I'm going to cover this off. First of all, let's talk about metabolism. Your metabolism isn't broken. Things you've done in your past, perhaps doing different diets over your adult years, it doesn't break your metabolism. Your metabolism doesn't need a reboot. It doesn't need a kickstart. It doesn't need any of these things. Your metabolism is still working. Metabolism can slow, and this is why I've included muscle loss in this podcast, which I cover later on. But first, I do want to reassure you that you don't have a metabolism problem. And this is where it leads into lifestyle, because if you think about your life now compared to your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your life looks different now. If you have kids, maybe in your earlier years, most likely, you didn't have kids. You may have been at uni. You may have been a young professional with no children, and your lifestyle looked very different to how it looks now. And I don't want you to underestimate the change in lifestyle and how that will affect your weight, depending on how active you were. Usually in our younger years, we've got more energy, we do long days at work, we go out, we socialize, we might be dancing in nightclubs, we might be running after younger children. We kind of are very busy in those earlier years. And now that maybe your kids have gotten older, you're doing a little less for them, or what you're doing for them has changed. You may be back working. If you had a period off from working, you may be desk bound. You may be moving less. You may be eating the same or perhaps more. But if you're moving less, then it's going to have an effect on your body weight. And this is why I want to cover off energy balance, so that you can understand how the changes in your lifestyle can affect your body weight. Now, energy balance is the scientific equation of your body, and it's about calories in versus calories out. Now, remember, calories are a unit of energy. So yes, we think about, calories in food. Remember, it's the energy within that food. It's the measurement. And your body, if we eat more than our body is expending, we will likely gain weight, right? Because we're eating more than our body requires. If we eat less than our body requires, we will lose weight. If we eat an equal amount to what our body expends, then we will maintain the weight that we are. And this can fluctuate day to day depending on your hunger levels, depending what you're doing that day, but we're looking at averages over time. And with energy balance, yes, it's a simple scientific equation, but as a human being, we're a bit more complex than that. And this is where behaviors, habits, lifestyle, preferences, all really do come into play. But understanding energy balance when it comes to your lifestyle. So if you are sitting at a desk all day, your steps are very low. Remember, steps is a crude measurement of all your daily movement. It's not just your intentional walk. You're accumulating steps from cooking, cleaning, gardening, going up and down the stairs, just moving about, getting up and down out your chair, fidgeting, gesticulating, all those types of things are going to increase your expenditure, your daily movement. And that is measured as steps. Now, if your steps are lower than, previous to how you used to have movement, and years ago, we didn't have activity watches, we weren't managing and measuring steps, so you may not know what your steps were. But if you know that your lifestyle was different and you were moving all the time and you weren't sat at a desk for long periods of the day, or however your life looks, whether you're working or not, your life may look different. Perhaps you've slowed down, you're not working as much, and you find that you're sitting around a lot more. This is going to affect your expenditure. Now, you may also find as you've aged, alongside your reduced movement, you might be eating the same, or perhaps, it's crept up a little bit. And, like life is for living, and, maybe we're not watching our weight so much, but steadily over time, it's increased. You might think it's the menopause that's caused your weight gain. Now, it's not the menopause itself. It's the symptoms experienced from going through the menopause. Fluctuating estrogen levels can affect our hunger and feeling of fullness. And the menopause symptoms can also affect our ability to want to go and exercise, to want to move. Maybe we've had poor sleep and you're just not feeling the energy to go and do these things. So it's not the menopause per se, but the symptoms that you're experiencing as a result of the menopause. You may be, if you just think and reflect on your own life and how it looks different, and please be reassured, it's perfectly normal. We are constantly changing and evolving as we go through life. And as I say, this is perfectly normal, but it's recognizing that there are changes and that your daily habits, your behaviors may have changed. No matter how that looks, whether it's about the types of foods you're eating, the quantity of foods, the movement, the less movement, maybe not exercising, maybe your sleep's impacted, and this obviously affects your behaviors. So there's a multitude of reasons why your lifestyle and your behaviors as a result of those lifestyles looks different. But understanding that it will impact your weight gain, weight maintenance, or weight loss is a real thing. And it's not your metabolism, it's likely your lifestyle. I also want to talk about comparison, because we are really guilty of thinking, when I got married, I weighed X stone or whatever it was. Or, when I was in my 30s, I remember wearing a size 8 jeans and now, I'm not. And we're really guilty of this comparison, not just to ourselves, but also perhaps to others. We now have social media. It's in our faces. We see as well, in the press and celebrities and how they're looking in their 50s and how you might be looking in your 50s. You may be looking on social media. So first of all, create your environment. Monitor what it is that you're looking at. Everything you look at wants to inspire you, but also make you feel good. And if it's having a negative impact on you, it's really worth curating that and perhaps muting or unfollowing anyone or anything that isn't making you feel good about yourself and isn't helping you. But comparing yourself to others can often lead to you setting unrealistic goals. And the reason is we are all individual and our lives all look different. And just because your friend is doing this fantastic diet that's helped her lose however much weight and she's feeling fantastic, it doesn't mean that just because what she's done, it's going to work for you. And if you are taken in by it and you give it a go, but it really doesn't do anything for you, you can't stick to it, it doesn't fit in with the life that you lead, and it can lead to you feeling really disappointed and frustrated when you don't measure up to the people that you're comparing yourself to. So please know that you're on your own journey. You have your own life, you have your own preferences and your own way of doing things. And trying to do what others do isn't always the right course of action for you. And I know that when people have a positive experience from doing something, they kind of inflict it on you without actually understanding how and why it's worked for them. And even if it has worked for them, we're looking at the long term. There's a lot of things that work short term, but are they maintainable over the long term? And this is something that I feel very strongly about. And a question I often get my clients to ask themselves is, can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life? And if the answer is no, then your results are not going to be sustainable. We can all strict diet, give ourselves loads of rules, cut things out for a short period of time. But ultimately, can you do that long term? Will it bring you joy? Will it bring you happiness? And will it bring you long-term success? So it's a really important question to ask yourself. I want my clients to experience positive experiences, just like I want you, the listener, to realize the same. Feelings of failure when you compare yourself to others or your previous self ends up you feeling really negative, and your focus is switched to like a negative self approach. You're almost like shaming or hating yourself into change. And it's very important that you come from wanting to make change, wanting to lose weight, wanting to improve your health from a positive place, one where you're taking action because you want to do the best for yourself, because you want to feel better internally and externally, and that it comes from a feeling of a place of self-care, not one of negative and comparison. I want you to focus more on what you've achieved, what you're doing, what you're trying to do, rather than what you're not achieving, what you're not doing. This is negative. So think about that mindset. Think about your approach to doing the things that you know you want to do to improve your health. It's got to come from that positive place. I want you to experience a higher feeling of self-esteem. I want you to increase your self-esteem. And this comes from you taking positive action. That negative action is likely to reduce your self-esteem and your self-confidence and your motivation. So positive all the way, increased self-esteem, and you'll probably feel much more motivated. Now, when it comes to comparing yourself to yourself and your previous self, your past self, and it doesn't need to be from like your 20s, 30s or 40s. It could be from 6 months ago. It could be from 3 months ago. It could be from last week. First of all, there are some things in life that you can't control, that may experiences, things that are happening that are beyond your control, and that will affect how you show up for yourself, your behaviors and the habits that you take. So please recognize that sometimes there are things beyond your control. Your priorities change over time. They're constantly changing throughout our life. and recognizing that your priorities now may look different to how they were previously. Your circumstances may have changed, and that will also affect, why, or be a reason why you don't compare yourself to yourself. I want you to focus more on where you want to go and not where you once were. I want you to focus on where you want to go and how you're going to get there, and the positive actions that you're going to take. And remembering that your personal growth will come from you taking these very, very small steps in the direction that you want to take to feel your healthier self, to lose weight, to impact your health, to whatever your goal is. It might just be to just feel better and not so lackluster and low energy. So whatever it is, it's really important that you celebrate your wins. And like, I'm talking small wins. Maybe that you got out for a walk where you maybe never previously would have done, and this time you have. So it's about recognizing and celebrating your small wins. It is a far more healthier approach to improving your health and losing weight. And it's a lot more rewarding as well. Now, let's talk about muscle loss and the impact it has on your weight and health. Now, muscle loss, it's known as sarcopenia. And what it is, it's the gradual loss of muscle mass and as a result, strength that happens as people get older. Now, for women in particular, this typically starts around your 30s, and it can accelerate as you're going through menopause due to that hormonal imbalance of your estrogen and hormonal changes. And so the emphasis and importance I want to place on building muscle is really, really important. Now, you may hear the word building muscle and think, oh, I don't want to get big. I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to build muscle. You actually do want to build muscle, and you need to get over these inhibiting thoughts about getting bulky. Like, you will never get bulky. You don't have testosterone. You're not a man, and you're probably not training hard enough to be able to get bulky. But you do want to build muscle. Muscle is so important when it comes to your health. You need muscle to support you as you age. If you want to age independently, reduce your risk of falls, stay strong, be able to get up and down off the toilet yourself without assistance or the use of a grab rail, you need to have muscle tissue. Muscle also helps you manage your menopause symptoms. It also helps you reduce your risk of osteoporosis, which comes from loss of bone density. And building muscle tissue will help you increase your bone density. Muscle is also metabolically active. Now, what that means in simple terms is that having muscle burns calories at rest. So when you're sitting in a chair doing absolutely nothing, if you have more muscle, you will burn more calories. Now, is it a huge amount? No, it may not be a large amount of, a huge amount of calories more than someone with less muscle, but still you are expending more calories doing nothing. So it is important to build that muscle tissue. Remember, muscle tissue in terms of health helps reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, certain cancers, and other long-term illnesses. So muscle equals health. You need to build muscle tissue, or at the very minimum, maintain the muscle you have and not let that rate of loss increase. In terms of muscle and aesthetics as well, if you're wanting to tone up, you need muscle. Looking toned is muscle. It's where you reduce body fat if you need to lose it, and you increase your muscle tissue to look leaner and more toned. So there is a lot to be said for having muscle. Now, if you've aged and you're in your 50s and you're not strength training and you're less active, maybe you're doing a bit of yoga or a bit of Pilates, but you're not doing progressive strength training, you are missing out on an essential component to your exercise routine. Now, you don't necessarily need to be in a gym. You can do it from home. And 3 times a week, just for 20 minutes, will have considerable benefits to you. And in terms of your metabolism and why you've gained weight as you've got older, it could be because you're losing muscle tissue. And we need to stimulate that muscle tissue to increase the amount of calories you're expending in a day, alongside those changes in your lifestyle, increasing your movement, doing more exercise, including strength training, and also managing the amount of calories that you are eating. So hopefully that's helped. Now, you can build muscle tissue in your 50s. It's obviously a lot harder, but it's not a reason not to do it. And, increasing your protein intake, doing those strength exercises, it can help slow down or prevent sarcopenia, which is the continual breakdown and loss of your muscle tissue. So in answer to the question asked by this lovely lady, is your metabolism broken? No, your metabolism isn't broken. You may have steadily gained weight as a result of your change in lifestyle and the behaviors that you take within that lifestyle: movement, nutrition, exercise. Sleep can also impact that as well. Lack of sleep, poor quality sleep, can affect our mood and our energy, and that can affect our behaviors and the things that we do. So can you lose weight in your 50s? Yes, I work with women in their 50s and their 60s who have had a lifetime of yo-yo dieting or just gained weight steadily as they've aged. And have we reversed that? Yes, we have. So is it possible to lose weight as an older woman? Yes, you can. And when I say older, I mean over 40s. Yes, you can. So if any of the points in this podcast, you think, oh, yeah, I'm not here. That's me. Yeah. Then this is your reminder to make those lifestyle and behavior changes. Now, if you need some support, because it's not always easy, the process might sound simple, but we're human. We have life, we have pressures, we have barriers, we have our own limiting self-beliefs. This is where having a coach really, really does help, because I support clients in overcoming those limiting self-beliefs, those challenges, helping them incorporate and build the foundation and the fundamental behaviors to support their weight loss and improve their health. And most importantly, how they feel within themselves. If this is something that you think will benefit you, as well as listening to my podcast, do scroll back, listen to previous episodes, then please reach out. All my contact details are in the show notes. And you can ask me questions. You may have questions. If there's anything that you want me to specifically cover in a podcast, you can ask. Now, I want to help and reach as many women as possible, and your help with this really makes a difference. So if you haven't already left me a comment, please leave a comment, because it raises the visibility of my podcast to more women. So please do that. Share my podcast with your friends. Don't keep me to yourself. I know you want to keep me to yourself. And I understand you're getting very, very valuable information, but share me, because I want to help women understand what's happening as they go through life, why they're not able to lose weight, what might be the factors that could support them in changing that. So please, please do share me with your friends, leave that review, give me a 5-star rating, and I'll catch up with you on the next one.